Assistant everyone to the 8th Biennial International Conference of the Japanese Studies Association of Southeast Asia, hosted here in the beautiful city of Chiang Mai, Thailand. I am Dr. Ponchanok Reungvirayut, a faculty member of the School of Politics and Government, Chiang Mai University. I'm the MC for this event. Today marks the beginning of a significant conference under the theme of the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN relations, flourishing friendship. We are gathered here to explore, discuss, and celebrate the rich history and collaborative future between Japan and the ASEAN region. On behalf of the organizer of this conference, Chiang Mai University, by the Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration, we would like to extend this gratitude to all of you who are here with us today. And please let me inform you a little bit that during the opening ceremony, there will be 2 welcoming remarks and 2 congratulatory speeches. Please applaud at the end of the session just one time due to our tight schedule. Without further ado, let's now begin our program by welcoming the Dean of the Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration, Chiang Mai University. To give us a welcoming remark, please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Pailin Pujinapan.
Mr. KG, Consulate General of Japan in Chiang Mai, Dr. Sato Yuri, the Japan Foundation headquarters in Tokyo, Assistant Professor Dr. Thanya Anantana, Vice President of Chiang Mai University, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning everyone. For many decades, the Japanese Studies Association in Southeast Asia, JSA ASEAN, was found to promote Japanese studies in this region. After that, we have seen the exchange of ideas, the cultivation of knowledge, and the strengthening of bond among scholars, researchers, and enthusiasts of Japanese studies. This year, we gather once more in a hybrid format to continue this tradition of intellectual engagement and cultural exchange. The theme of this year on Flourishing Friendship has been called to bring together major Japanese studies specialists from various Southeast Asian countries with their counterpart from Japan and other countries. The theme also aims to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN relations. As we navigate the complex challenges and opportunities of our rapidly changed world, it's imperative that we foster deeper connections between Japan and the ASEAN regions. Throughout the next 2 days, we have an exciting lineup of keynote speech, panel discussions, and research presentations that will delve into diverse aspects of Japanese studies, ranging from politics and economics to architecture, sociology and anthropology, culture, language, and history. We encourage all participants to actively engage in these sessions, share your insights, and cultivate new friendships and collaborations. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the speakers, panelists, reviewers, and volunteers who have dedicated their times and expertise to make this conference possible. Your contributions are invaluable, and we are deeply appreciative of your commitment to advancing the field of Japanese studies. I also would like to extend my appreciation to Japan Foundation, Toshiba International Foundation, Mitsui and U.S. Japanese Study in Southeast Asia Endowment Fund, who provide support and budget of this conference. Without their generous support, this conference would not have been possible. Your beliefs in the importance of international academic exchange is truly commendable. Lastly, I would like to thank all the attendees for your participation and enthusiasm. Your presence here enrich the conference and ensure its success. Let us embark on this journey of exploration, collaborations, and discovery. May this conference be a source of inspiration and knowledge that resonates for beyond these 2 days, fostering enduring connections among all of us. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you so much for such a warm welcoming. Next is a welcome address from the Vice President of Chiang Mai University. Please welcome Assistant Professor Dr. Thanyanupap Anantana.
Mr. Higuchi Keiji, Consulate General of Japan in Chiang Mai, Dr. Sato Yuri, the Japan Foundation Headquarters in Tokyo, Associate Professor Dr. Pailin Ujinapan, the Dean of Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration in Chiang Mai University. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Chiang Mai University, the President of Chiang Mai City assigned me to be the representative for giving the welcoming remark for all of you to the International Conference of JSA ASEAN. This is the 8th time and holding in Chiang Mai. Actually, it's very lucky for me because to be the representative of the President that to join this event, it's make me recall my memory 17 years ago when I was arrived in Japan for starting my PhD study in Tokyo Institute of Technology. And I have spent time for almost 4 years in Japan. And I'm really glad to see some of my friends, the alumni of Japan in this event. Some of my friends also just coming from Japan to join this event. And also you might know that Japanese people and Thai people is very close together. We have a lot of bonding. The appearance is also very close. When I came here this morning, I saw a lot of the students. I have to ask them, are you Japanese or you Thai? Because the dressing and the costume is made me confused. So we are very good relation. We have very good relation for a long time. And for the Chiang Mai University, I'm the Vice President who take care about the innovation management, international collaboration, and also the corporate communication. So the President of Chiang Mai University also have very strong policy to work together with the international partners. And we have the concept of open innovation. We are really keen to work together with the international partner with the mutual benefit in the objective for the both sides, and we are very happy to invest in any project that we can go together in the same objective or the same goals. And back to this conference, I saw a lot of the guests and also the many young people. I think in maybe Thai and the Japanese people and also international people. I think I hope that the conference today will the 3 days of the conference start from today will have the successful of according to the objective that you set, and I think the fruitful discussion is one of the main things that we gathering the people to be in the conference today. And lastly, not only the conference, I hope that during 3 days the guests who come from other cities, you should enjoy the environment of Chiang Mai, especially this week. I think the weather is become cooler compared to last week. Thank you very much because you bring the cooler weather for us. And I once again on behalf of Chiang Mai University, I would like to thank for all the sponsor for the Japan Foundation Headquarters in Tokyo. and also for the Consulate General of Japan in Chiang Mai, and also a lot of the people who support this event. And I hope that you will enjoy the time in Chiang Mai. And if you have next chance for any kind of event between Japan and Thailand, if Chiang Mai University have the opportunity, we are very happy to support all the things. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your warm welcome address. As he said, this is the best season to visit Chiang Mai. We have a joke in Thailand that we have 3 seasons a year: hot, very hot, and extremely hot. So this is the best one that you are here today. Next, let's move on to the Japanese side. It is a great honor to have him with us today. May I kindly invite the Consul General of Japan in Chiang Mai to give us a congratulatory speech, please. Please welcome Mr. Higuchi Keiichi.
สวัสดีครับ Good morning, everyone. おはようございます。Okay. Today I understand it's not just the people in this room, but also online audience. Okay, so my greeting goes to both physically in this room as well as to those who are online, who are unfortunately not in Chiang Mai, right? not in the good weather of Chiang Mai. Yeah, so Dr. Thangyan Pap Anantana, Vice President of Chiang Mai University, Dr. Paini Buji Napat, Dean, Faculty, Political Science and Public Administration of Chiang Mai University, Dr. Sato Yuri, Executive Vice President of the Japan Foundation, distinguished guests both in this room and online. I'm really honored to be invited to this 8th Japan-ASEAN Conference 2023, which marks the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN relations. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration of Chiang Mai University for hosting this important event. During my undergraduate years, a long time ago, I majored in Burmese language, which gave me not only linguistic expertise, but also the opportunity to delve into the economy and politics of the region and ASEAN as a whole. Although my diplomatic journey has taken me away from the Southeast Asia for some time, taking up this role of Consul General in Chiang Mai now feels like a serendipitous connection. Comparing the current state of Japan-ASEAN relations with that of during my student days, one of the most notable development is our robust economic relationship. In addition to a close trade relationship, Japan is the second largest source of direct investment for ASEAN, on an annual basis averaging about 2.8 trillion yen, which is about 19.5 billion US dollars. And furthermore, there are about 15,000 Japanese companies in ASEAN region, with about 200,000 Japanese nationals living in ASEAN area. Indispensable to such a strong economic foundation is deep mutual understanding. At the first Japan-ASEAN Summit back in 1977 in Manila, the Philippines, Prime Minister Fukuda set the goal of fostering a heart-to-heart relationship, not only in politics and economics, but also in broader fields like society and culture, envisioning a genuine friendship based on mutual trust. Since then, we have further strengthened our relationship through various initiatives, such as the JENESYS Youth Exchange Program, and the Southeast Asian Youth Ship, SSEAYP. As many of you know, Prime Minister Seta Tawisin recently was in Japan for a couple of days, and there Tam Seta emphasized that the importance of heart-to-heart partnership and highlighted SSEAYP. Perhaps among those present today, either in this room or online, there may be an alumni of these programs. At the recent Japan-ASEAN Special Summit on last Sunday, Prime Minister Kishida announced the launch of a partnership to co-create a future with the next generation, WA Project 2.0, which is a comprehensive human exchange program expected to benefit over 10 million people over the next decade. The theme of the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN relationship is Golden Friendship, Golden Opportunity. I hope that this new program will further deepen the bonds of friendship between the people of Japan and ASEAN. Even in a broader global context of international relations, ASEAN has come to take on a greater significance for Japan in the course of the last 50 years. I must say that much credit goes to the foundational work of dedicated Japan scholars, esteemed predecessors, and all those interested in Japan studies as we celebrate this 50th anniversary. I extend my heartfelt respect and gratitude to all of you who have joined us today, both online and in person. And also a lot of thanks goes to the organizers and the sponsors, private sponsors as well as government sponsors, which, without such effort and help, this event would not be possible. So again, congratulations, and with that, I conclude my remarks. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับ
Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much for your congratulatory speech. Last but not least, I would like to extend a warm invitation to the Executive Vice President of the Japan Foundation, the funder of this conference, to deliver a congratulatory remark, please. Please welcome Dr. Sato Yuri.
Very good morning. 皆さん、おはようございます。Members of the Steering Committee of JSA ASEAN, distinguished guests, and friends. It is my great pleasure to deliver the opening remarks at this 8th International Conference of JSA ASEAN entitled Flourishing Friendship. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate the steering committee on the successful opening of this event. Your hard work is greatly appreciated, not only by funders like us, but also all the participants who gain opportunity to present their findings and learn from colleagues around the world. This year, 2023 marks 50th anniversary of ASEAN-Japan Friendship and Cooperation. This conference is designated as part of the official celebration of this important milestone, along with a variety of other celebrative events and programs throughout this year in both ASEAN countries and Japan. The Japan Foundation has steadfastly supported the past 7 conferences of JSA ASEAN, and we are very proud to continue being a part of the efforts to promote and strengthen networks of Japanese studies in Southeast Asia and beyond. In recent years, the Japan Foundation has actively sought opportunities to strengthen networks of Japanese study researchers across countries, regions, and continents. This is because by doing so, we believe we can close the gaps among researchers, not only in terms of the individual research capacities, but also in terms of their chances to find good friends, good colleagues, and mentors they can resort to whenever they face challenges. This is becoming all the more important as we find more institutions and universities with only 1 or 2 researchers on For young researchers and students, this conference will provide tremendous learning opportunities. I encourage you to join as many panels and presentations as you can. Moreover, I urge you to engage in casual and deep conversations in hallways with your colleagues from East and Southeast Asia and also South Asia as well as in the United States and Japan. You never know, it could lead to a breakthrough in your research topics as well as in your future career. Before closing, I would like to express my gratitude again to the organizers in Chiang Mai University, as well as steering committee of JSA ASEAN for making this happen. To everybody else, I wish you the best of luck in making the most of the opportunities you will have. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Sato, please remain on the stage because we are going to have a group photo together. And all you please give a big round of applause to these remarks one more time. Without them, this conference wouldn't have been conducted successfully. Therefore, to make this moment more memorable, I would like to invite our honorable individuals to have a group photo together. May I invite Assistant Professor Dr. Thanyanupap Anantana, Associate Professor Dr. Pailin Pujinapan, Mr. Higuchi Keiji, Professor Dr. Sato Jain, our keynote speaker, and Assistant Professor Dr. Narut Jaransi, the head of the organizing team. Thank you. We've made a history today. Now, the 8th Biennial International Conference of the Japanese Studies Association of Southeast Asia under the theme of the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN Relations Flourishing Friendship is officially started. And next is the performance that we've been waiting for. It is our Lana traditional performance. There are going to be 2 sets. The very first one is called Glong Sabat Chai. Let me warn you beforehand that it's a drum shell, so the sound might be quite loud. We use these drums to start a very important ceremony. In the past, we used this drum shell to be the symbol of starting to get engaged into the war, so that it will give all the soldiers the good luck. And that was กลองสะบัดชัย And this is meant to give us bravery as we are brave soldiers going into a brave discussion this afternoon. Next is the performance called ทิพยปุปผาล้านนา It is a symbol of greeting and welcoming our guests into town. They are going to sprinkle some fresh flowers to reflect freshness of our ceremony this morning. That was very neat and graceful. Tipaya Bupalana literally means flowers from heaven to greet and welcome our guests into our town. This is a symbolic and cultural way to say welcome to Chiang Mai. Next is our keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants, today we are honored to have with us a distinguished professor whose expertise and insights are at the forefront of global dialogue. Our keynote speaker for this session has a profound understanding of the intermediaries, a new focus on international cooperation. Professor and Dr. Jin Sado, Professor and Deputy Director of the Institute of Advanced Studies on Asia, the University of Tokyo. He majors in development studies with a specific focus on the politics of natural resources and foreign aid in the context of Southeast Asia. He served as a visiting professor at the School of Public Policy at Princeton University from 2016 to 2020. Where he taught classes on environmental policy and development in Asia. He has substantial research experience in Southeast Asia. He also served as a policy advisor or JICA expert through the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of the Thai government during 2004 and 2005. Dr. Sado is the ex-president of the Japan Society for International Development or JASID. He's scheduled to teach at Columbia University Climate School from January 2024 as a visiting professor. He's the winner of the Japan Academy Medal in 2013. He holds an MPP from the Kennedy School at Harvard University and a PhD in International Relations from the University of Tokyo. Today, Professor Sado will give a special talk on the intermediaries, a new focus on international cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Sado Jin on the stage.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm totally overwhelmed by this flower. I've done this kind of talk many times, but nobody put me flower here, and nobody had flower on the floor. So I'm totally overwhelmed. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me today, and I want to thank the organizer of the Chiang Mai University to have me this opportunity to give this talk. I also want to thank Japan Foundation for funding this important event. I know that this is a time to celebrate our friendship between Japan and ASEAN countries. But if you look at the world, we see a lot of violence and conflicts happening. Not to mention what's happening in Ukraine and Gaza. And the more we look at those violence and conflicts, the more I'm devastated and disappointed by the thinking that how little we can do about it, how little, what kind of wisdom we have to reduce such conflicts. My conclusion is that our human society's wisdom is very limited when conflicts escalate. But we still have, we can still invest our intellectual abilities for conflicts not to escalate, to prevent conflicts from happening. And this is where I bring in this idea of intermediaries. Modern societies have given too much emphasis, in my view, on self-reliance, independence, ability to do things yourself, with a focus on individual. And while we have that emphasis, I think we forgot how to depend on other people to achieve such self-reliance. People cannot live in atoms as atoms We have to live in communities, we have to live in association, and we have to live in groups. So my talk today is to reappreciate the role of mutual dependency through the analysis of intermediary organization. That's the substance of my talk, but of course my real objective is to keep you awake for another 40 minutes. Okay, let me try. And sorry, I forgot to mention my name. My name is Jin Sato, and I'm a professor at the Institute for Advanced Studies on Asia at the University of Tokyo. Okay, before going into the substance of my talk, knowing that not many people would know me, I want to talk a little bit about what the range of research that I have done. And so these are the books that that has my name on the cover, including my translation. As you can see, a lot of the books have been written in Japanese, and I have some English articles published in international journals. So most of the articles are written in English, and most of the books are written in Japanese. I'm very sad to report that my books are not selling well, and the best-selling books are my translations. And this one, the thick one right here, is The Art of Not Being Governed by James Scott. I did the translation with my colleague, and it's in the 9th printing, so it's selling very well. And this one on the very left, it's a book by Amartya Sen called Inequality Re-Examined. It's selling more than 20th printing, so it's so maybe in Japan I'm known as a translator, not as a independent academics. That's fine. Okay. Currently, I'm working on exploration of development studies from Asia and reappreciation of the idea of dependency, and I will come to this topic. I think that in general, social science, especially development, foreign aid, international relations, have been dominated by Western discourse. Despite the fact that in Asia we have so much experience, we have not been successful in verbalizing or theorizing our own experience. So I want to push that, and I think this platform is also a very useful platform to do that. Secondly, I'm interested in the role of intermediary organizations, which I will talk about today, in mitigating the effects of state dominance in problem solving. I will come to this. My latest research topic is what I call just-in-time science of climate adaptation in the Mekong River in Southeast Asia. I'm pretty sure some of you are from the Mekong region. Let me give you one example from Mekong, which will lead to today's talk about the role of intermediaries. So these are the pictures that we gathered, and this one I took from our field research in Ubon Ratchathani in the northeast of Thailand. And if you look at this lady, she's sticking a bamboo stick on Mekong River to measure the depth of the water. And then there are a lot of her colleagues, friends, who are doing the similar thing in the different location of the Mekong River in preparation for flooding. The question is, why do they have to do it? Despite the fact that the Thai government has such a sophisticated computer simulation or whatever monitoring system to estimate when the flood might come. The answer is that the simulation or the estimate that the government produces are often too complicated, too difficult to understand, or sometimes too macro. Therefore, people rely on each other to and then they put their data together, and then they distribute the data to each other through line application like this, which is much more reliable preparation for flooding from the perspective of people. And I was so impressed because these people, they form inter-village groups to coordinate information in preparation for flooding. And I thought that this kind of initiative can be further expanded, and perhaps we can involve even governments to prepare people from climate disaster in the near future. But anyway, this is just one example of what I'm interested recently. So coming to today's talk, the talk, I have some motivating concerns, especially in my field of foreign aid and development. There's this obsession with self-reliance. Self-reliance is great, dependency is bad. That's the general idea. And one saying that has been repeated one after another is the saying that give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I'm sure you've heard this before. So giving a fish to a man, that may be good, but it's not actually helping, right? You have to train that person to be able to fish so that the person will become self-reliant. And then this saying has been treated as almost like a dogma in the foreign aid world. My question is, okay, this guy, maybe he'd be able to fish now, but what will happen to the fish? He may have to depend on the middleman now to cultivate the market, right? He may have to sort of just change the direction of dependency. So after observing different types of development intervention, I came to the conclusion that development is a series of transitional awareness from one dependency to another. It's not like you become the dependent state to self-reliant, but one type of dependency changing to another type of dependency. And this is my interpretation of what development is. And if you look at the history of all the global discourse on development, like if you look at the evolution of agenda in the international community, you see an emphasis on community, for example, in the 1950s, or emphasis on gender in the 1980s, or emphasis on environment in the 1990s. These are the things that we have depended on, and we have to discover. We discover that we depended depended on these things, and then we have tried to sort of integrate more explicitly to our development agenda. So having this awareness of dependency, I think, will open up new research agenda from my perspective, because that's how it has been from my observation. So international cooperation must understand what it does to human relations beyond its immediate and individual objectives, such as increasing literacy or income. These are just individual targets. We have to see what this kind of intervention does to group formation, association, how people depend on each other. Okay, why intermediaries? And this comes to the title of my talk today. Intermediaries such as labor unions, cooperatives, religious organizations are the most typical entities where people can depend intimately to solve local issues. You don't directly depend on government, of course. Like pension, there are different ways we depend on the government, but the most immediate groups that we can depend on is our surrounding intermediaries. And most importantly, people can belong to multiple organizations, multiple groups at the same time, but they don't see its political significance. We have not treated the political importance of intermediaries. And this is something that I really want to promote today. And intermediaries can serve as the mediating factor among people in conflicts, as well as breeding hubs for critical imagination. And I will again come to some more concrete examples of how intermediary organization can be critical in expanding our imagination, bringing in critical thoughts to avoid dominance of the state. Definition of intermediary organization, and here are some of the definition. There's no one single standard definition, but I think this is good enough to understand what it is. So intermediary organization stand in between the state and the individual, which often takes the form of families, religious groups, cooperatives, professional guilds, etc. And these groups not only stand in between, but they mediate between the state and individual interests. So this is the important, right? They're not just in between, but they mediate between the state and individual. Intermediary organizations serve double purpose. So on the one hand, they would be intimate enough, as I mentioned earlier, intimate enough to provide sufficient social bonds for the individual, which would serve to integrate the individual into the society. So you become a member of a society through some kind of groups, often, right? On the other hand, they would represent the demands of the individual to the government and check state power, thereby ensuring that the state does not become domineering. So intermediary groups is a very important sort of connecting bond for individual people to be a member of a larger society or the polity. Of course, there are tensions, especially if you look at history, and I'm not sure whether, okay, you're a Japan specialist, so you might have heard this term akagami, the red papers, when during the Second World War, the government issued this red paper to recruit soldiers from all over Japan. Of course, government alone cannot do it. It's such a huge task to identify where people live and make sure that when they receive the red paper, they come join the military, right? It's a huge task. And the government has to rely on this neighborhood associations in each locale, each community. So to make sure that there is kind of a mutual monitoring among the villagers, that there will not be any villagers who will escape from this recruitment policy, right? Intermediaries become the central target for utilization as well as oppression by the state, and we know that from history. However, Emil Durkheim is the founder, one of the founders of sociology. I'm bringing him up because he's one of the first to focus on the significance of intermediary organization, and he called it secondary groups. And he said secondary groups are essential if the state is not to oppress the individual. They are also necessary if the state is to be sufficiently free of the individual. So, because the state cannot directly contact the masses, right? They need some kind of intermediary organization to intervene and to influence and sometimes control people, right? So intermediary organizations are essential for state apparatus. But at the same time, intermediary organization can be a kind of be a protective shield for people, so that the state intervention is not excessive, right? If it works properly. But of course, we know in history that this does not necessarily work according to theory. But this was the original formulation of the significance of secondary groups or intermediary organization. So the question today is, why do societies allow escalation of conflicts and domination? What mechanism might prevent such adversity of us and them from escalating? And this is the question that I want to ask, and then I will give my tentative response toward the end of my talk. But first, we have to understand the source of such conflicts, that is how state power becomes violently dominating in many societies. I want to sort of give a very rough sort of overview of how I see the development of each, how the modernization and economic development has occurred. And this is my original kind of a figure which demonstrates that you have this outward force of development, that there's a sort of an individualized wealth and freedom going to different individuals. And then at the same time, there is a centralizing force, especially during the modernization period. The government tried to centralize, right? But we tend to forget about this upward centralizing force because individuals are usually happy when they have more money or when they have more freedom at the very individual level. And my question is, how can we come to find the right middle, right solution in each society, somewhere in between too much centralization and too much individualization? Adam Smith, who explained how this system might work, and especially he was interested in how economic benefits would be distributed to people. He said that it is the great multiplication of the productions of all the different arts in consequence of the division of labor which occasions in a well-governed society that universal opulence which extends itself to the lowest rank of the people. So if you have division of labor properly managed, properly organized, and that would increase the efficiency of the economy, and that would eventually include, it will reach to the lowest rank of the people. Because the tasks and the jobs will be more simpler, so lower educated people can participate in the economy. And so according to Adam Smith, the division of labor is the explanation of how this outward force of development works. But on the other hand, focus on the individual economic wealth blinds us to our vulnerability to political centralization. When people are atomized, when people become individuals, they become so vulnerable and easy to be mobilized by the state or by central power. Okay, let's look at how the individual became individuals in modern Japan. In my review, Samuel Smiles' self-help, or the translation of this book, was probably one symbolic event that Japanese government started to appreciate this idea of individual. I was surprised to see that, not surprised, but it was one of my recent findings, is that when Nakamura Masanao, who translated this book, Self-Help by Samuel Smiles, Nakamura translated the term individual into jinmin, not kojin. Kojin is the term that we use now as individual. But back then in the Meiji period, kojin was not there was no such concept, I would say. The word was there, but not in the sense that we use today. So he translated individual as jinmin, which is more like people, right? So his mindset was more of a collection of people, whereas Smiles, he focused more on individual, and he said the spirit of self-help is the root of all genuine growth in the individual and exhibited in the lives of many. It constitutes the true source of national vigor and strength. So Samuel Smiles, he emphasized that in order for the state or the country to be strong, you really need a strengthened individual, an individual who can perform self-help, right? In the beginning of the Meiji government, they really liked this idea, because they wanted to open up Japan and they wanted to become like one of those Western countries, right? But after 10 years, the government decided not to use this for textbook in schools, because it's more of a right-wing movement to strengthen the imperial family idea. Not like, okay, we emphasize individual, but we want to emphasize Japanese people as one big family under the emperor. So soon, this glorification of self-help was gone. But I want to highlight this because people liked it, right? And then this was one of the best sellers in the Meiji period, along with Gakumo no Susume by Fukuza Yukichi in early Meiji. And another important Western idea that came into Japan, which leads to a more competitive conflict-ridden society, is Darwinian view of progress. Charles Darwin's The Origins of Species and his idea of the survival of the fittest. Actually, survival of the fittest is not exactly Darwin's idea, but I'm going to skip that. But this whole idea of survival of the fittest became kind of like a catchword for Japanese people, and especially Japanese elite back then. In Japanese, people call it yushorebbai. So if you're good, you survive. If you're weak, if you don't have enough skill, then you will drop out. And that's the nature of human society, borrowed from how things work out in the natural environment, in plants and animals. Anyway, in the process of industrialization, of course, there's now an increased income gap and inequality in Japanese societies, which intensify the atmosphere of competition and self-reliance. You have to kind of protect yourself, and you have to train yourself so that you don't drop out from society, right? So this is one cartoon from the 1920s representing a rich guy who's and the lady from the restaurant is trying to find his shoes because it's so dark, and he puts a fire on his I don't know ichen or whatever the big bill that he has in his wallet, and set fire on the money to light, and then so that she can find the shoe, which kind of represents how unequal Japanese society has become in the 1920s. Of course, while this kind of industrializations and individualization, economic competition went on, there are a lot of social wisdom, social mechanism to tame conflict in Japanese societies. And I'm going to introduce some ideas that has been practiced in Japan, and many of them survive even today. Like, makeru ga kachi is to lose is to win. This is one idea. And it's kind of interesting that this idea has been kind of rediscovered by Ruth Benedict, who's an anthropologist who studied Japan right before the war and after the war. There's a very, very famous book I'm pretty sure many of you have read. It's called the Chrysanthemum and the Sword. It's a very good anthropological study of Japanese culture and society. And there's this one chapter on children that she wrote. And then she says, when there are quarrels, it is likely that the mother will invoke noblesse oblige and ask the older child to give in to the younger one by saying, why not lose to win? Right? So losing is winning. And that's the one important rhetoric that has kind of widespread significance in sort of teaching children. Right? Or, bureko is another one, do away with formalities, especially in the festive occasions, where you are especially allowed to sort of discharge your energy and ignore the usual rules that you will follow. So you can drink a lot and maybe say, rude things to your seniors or something like that. Bureko, right? And these are the mechanisms to sort of have opportunity for people to discharge their frustration or whatever, energy that has been accumulated inside the individual. And then this is another way to sort of tame conflict from escalating, right? Amakudari is another one, in my view, to sort of reduce conflicts, personal conflicts in the governmental organization. I'm pretty sure many of you know how this works. It's often translated as descent from heaven or parachuting in the government appointment, like post-retirement employment of senior bureaucrats in private and public corporations, particularly those that fall under the jurisdiction of the ministry they retired from. So when you become senior in the government structure, not everyone can become like permanent secretary or director general, right? And there are always people who will lose in the race. And the Japanese system is to make sure that people who lose from those competition will not be too angry or too envious of their colleagues. So they make sure that these people have a role to play outside of the government. And this is the basic idea of Amakudari system. But I would say that these mechanisms work only when the dependent system is closed And I will come to this, what I mean by closed and open dependent system. All right. Centralization of power in pre-war Japan. This is kind of a textbook thing, so I'm going to sort of quickly run through. Political centralization through strengthening the Ministry of Interior and Emperor as a symbol of national unity. We all know this. And at the same time, there's been a lot of the selective suppression of voluntary associations, and this relates to my emphasis on intermediaries, like the 1900 Security Police Law, Chian Keisatsu-ho, or 1925 Peace Preservation Law, Chian Iji-ho. These are the very important laws that government have the sort of the arbitrary power to select different intermediaries. Okay, which ones are okay from the perspective of the government, which one needs to be suppressed or dismantled. And many of the communist or so-called communist movements have been suppressed through these laws because the government used it to sort of have a broader understanding of what it means to be risky from the perspective of the governance of Japan. And at the same time, there's a lot of creation of various state-led associations, like the Imperial Assistance Association. I don't know whether this is the right English translation, but in Japanese we call it Taisei Yokusankai. This is the military, half government, national intermediaries that government promoted. And this sort of penetrated through all villages and local municipalities to make sure that Japan will be one entity to face the Western powers in Second World War. But these are state-led intermediaries in my view. We have a lot of similar examples in Southeast Asia as well, and I know that many of you are from these the countries that I'm going to talk about. So I will be actually, you probably know more than I do, but the dictators in Southeast Asia, like Suharto, Suharto in Indonesia, Pol Pot in Cambodia, Marcos in the Philippines. They were also very careful which organization to let, to survive, which one to suppress. Intermediary organizations were very important for them. And one thing that I found quite interesting, which leads to a broader understanding of how dictators behave, is there's always this saying that like there was no other choice. When they do something very terrible, and then they had to explain why they do it, the common comment is there was no other choice. When Putin was making a speech about his justification of Russian invasion to Ukraine, he also said that there was no other choice. There was no other choice is a common phrase that we hear again and again from the top leaders, especially under dictator regimes. And also we see another common phenomena is the creation of enemy and the complete dichotomy of us and them, and nothing in between. So everyone must depend on one leader to survive, and especially through very symbolic connection. In Japanese we call it sontaku, which is often translated as read the minds of your boss. You read the minds of your boss and you behave as your boss would expect, right? And this system will work well if this dependent relations or intermediaries are very much closed. You cannot escape from that one group. Then that system will work very well. But historically, this system worked very violently, in my view. So far we have seen two types of intermediaries. So one under very close dependency in a very traditional form. So you have the state, but state is almost equal to traditional intermediaries. like village communities, because people don't move around, and people, if you're born in Chiang Mai, you're raised in Chiang Mai, you work in Chiang Mai, and you die in Chiang Mai, right? That has been the most of pre-modern times. That's how people live. And individual space is basically defined by the traditional intermediaries like families or village communities. Whereas when state modernized, the state tried to sort of be very selective about which intermediaries to let them survive. And then so there's this, in my view, the disguised intermediaries, not like real intermediaries, but these are state apparatus. And then individuals are very put in a very risky position because there's only one type of intermediaries that leads to state power. So it's a very risky kind of, from my perspective, it's a very vulnerable type of self-reliance. And another important aspect of state dominance is dominance through language. And I already talked about how the common words that the dictators used, there was no other choice, right? George Orwell, who wrote the very famous novel called 1984, I'm not sure how many of you have read it. I'm pretty sure it's been translated into many languages, so maybe you can read in your own language. But in this book, there was this introduction of the idea called doublethink. And doublethink is the acceptance of two contradictory ideas or beliefs at the same time. People have the capacity to absorb totally different ideas at the same time. And then the argument of the book is that dictators make use of that through what some people call the double speak. So for example, liberation to mean invasion, or protection to mean arrest, or rehabilitation to mean forced labor. So when Suharto was accusing of the communists and they put them into a forced labor camp, he called it the rehabilitation camp, right? These are the words to rephrase the reality and then create a new reality, new perception for the people. But of course, people will notice, right? There's a huge gap between how things are being called and what's happening on the ground. But people are forced into this double-think mindset. And the whole point for the dictators or the centralized power to do this is to diminish the range of thoughts. You have to diminish the range of thought so that there won't be any critical, challenging ideas coming from the people. That's very scary from the perspective of the dictator or from the perspective of the centralized state. So diminishing the range of thoughts are the effects of these language control. And in my field, foreign aid, this is full of double speak, full of double meanings. For example, there's a lot of environmental conservation projects funded by foreign governments. Wildlife conservation sounds very good, but in fact, it may mean, in reality, eviction of local residents. Or participatory development, which sounded excellent in the 1980s and 90s. But if you look at the reality, that can only mean mobilizing the locals. Or poverty reduction, great. But maybe what it really means is inequality untouched. That means you will not disturb the rich. You focus on the poor and you don't disturb the rich. So you basically maintain the existing structure, right? But because you call it poverty reduction, it sounds good, everyone's happy. Especially the rich people are happy because you don't have to, sacrifice, right? So this to me is another form of double speak. Development assistance is another form of double speak because in reality, historically speaking, many of the development assistance was actually to assist the donor, not the recipient, like expanding market opportunities for donors, but you still label it as development assistance. So there's a whole bunch of this in the foreign aid community, and we have to be sensitive to this. And I'm showing this picture as one of the most interesting, in a way, shocking picture because there's this one lady who was, reporting in her blog about her visit to Kalawit Safari Park in the Philippines. And you see, and then she said that, oh, there's a lot of wildlife in this park, and this is great. But if you look at the history, this park was kind of, it's a man-made safari that all the animals were originally brought from Kenya by Marcos because apparently he liked wildlife. So many of these animals were originally from Africa. And then more importantly, people who lived in this in this area has been displaced by force. There's a lot of angry indigenous people who occupy the land, but now the land is for the wildlife that Marcos brought from Africa. And of course his argument is that he wanted to save wildlife from extinction in Africa. But not knowing that history, of course, the lady is very happy visiting this safari. So, whether you know history or not will totally give a different perspective on the interpretation of this picture. Okay, so where do we go from here? I don't know to what extent you know the term SDGs. It's one of the most popular idea now in Japan that people have SDGs badge on it, Sustainable Development Goals, right? And it says leave no one behind. Sounds good, right? Leave no one behind. But from what? People need local groups to whom they can depend on, in my perspective. So we need to explore the nature of dependency. We should stop demonizing dependency, but think more about what are the good qualities of dependency, or how can we sort of structure dependency in a way that will lead to a truer, a more helpful type of self-reliance. So I would argue that instead of traditional intermediaries, which is almost equal to the state, which is almost equal to the individual space, or in contrast to the state-made disguised intermediaries, I would argue that we should enrich a variety of intermediary organizations that people can depend on and people can choose from. So as long as people can choose from different types of intermediary organization, depending on the individual needs, this to me is a more stable, more open dependency compared to closed or vulnerable type of a vulnerable self-reliance. Okay. This kind of idea is not my original, and it's been argued for a long time. And I'm bringing in one scholar, Tocqueville, who wrote this famous book called Democracy in America. And I want to sort of come to a conclusion by quoting him, because he's pointing out something very important that we should remind ourselves. He said that, I admit that in the democratic state thus constituted, society will not be stationary. Each individual will feel the same necessity for uniting with his fellow citizens to protect his own weakness. And as he knows that if they are to assist, he must cooperate. He will readily perceive that his personal interest is identified with the interest of the community. The nation, taken as a whole, will be less brilliant, less glorious, and perhaps less strong. But the majority of the citizens will enjoy a greater degree of prosperity. And the people will remain quiet, not because it despairs of amelioration, but because it is conscious of the advantages of its condition. So he's focusing more on how he's focusing more on the importance of local communities as a supporting mechanism for weakness. If you look at Adam Smith's formulation of the division of labor, it's based on people's strength and advantage, skills, right? And then how do you combine it? But he doesn't talk much about the weakness or vulnerability of people. And we have to come up with a system that will care for our own weaknesses, right? No matter how strong you may look, we all have weakness, right? We all have disadvantages. So we have to come to form the society toward a weakness-caring society. So coming back to the topic of international cooperation, I would argue that the new focus should have these qualities. I would say that if we focus on individuals, we need to focus on the social foundation of those people, that is, intermediaries. And second, intermediary organizations are important even in guiding the government-led cooperation, because governments will need various intermediary organizations anyway to implement their will. The government will need some kind of organization to implement their ideas. An intermediary organization need to be trained and prepared to engage with state power, not just politically, but also in their mindset and language. Again, we have a lot of beautiful language, like participation, democratization, citizenship, all the good words, right? We have to train ourselves what it really means, right? We have to have a critical mindset. So I'm coming to the answers to the question that I asked myself in the beginning of my talk. Just in case you forgot what are the questions, I'm repeating here. Why do societies allow escalation of conflicts and domination? And what mechanism might prevent such adversity from escalating? And here are my tentative responses to my questions. So one is about social factors. Because we tend to be blinded by individual wealth while disregarding the weakening foundation of intermediaries, which allows the less visible centralization of power. So this is why we tend to allow conflicts to escalate. I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but I think this is one important reason. On mechanism, strong and multiple intermediary organizations to which we can depend. We need to depend on something, and that something must be continuously supplied via local means to meet individual needs. And what is the implication of this, the whole point? Intermediary organizations can implement locally nuanced solutions to conflicts before they escalate, right? Again, I want to emphasize, after the conflicts happen, we don't know what to do. Look at Gaza or look at Ukraine. We don't know what to do, right? But we can do a lot to make sure that escalation will not happen, right? That's where we need to invest our intellectual capacity, in my view. The virtue of dependencies should be rediscovered in the age of state dominance. So these are some of the implication based on my response to my own question. And I want to sort of end my talk with echoing some of the great minds of Asia. Tagore, the poet from India, when he came to Tokyo in 1916. And 1916 was a time when Japan was so confident. Japan defeated Russia, right? And Japan was modernizing and becoming almost like a very sort of a powerful competitor with the West. And Tagore gave talks in Keio and Todai and other places, and it was not that popular. Well, people welcomed Tagore because he was the great mind of Asia, but the content of his talk was more about the criticism of the Japanese attitude toward the world. And I'm quoting this one, one talk that he gave at Keio University in 1916. The title was Spirit of Japan. And he said, what is still more dangerous for Japan is not this imitation of the outer features of the West, but the acceptance of the motive force of the Western civilization as her own. I can see her motto, taken from science, survival of the fittest, with Raj at the entrance of her present-day history, the motto whose meaning is help yourself and never heed what it costs to others, the motto of the blind man who only believes in what he can touch because he cannot see. The moral law, which is the greatest discovery of man, is the discovery of his wonderful truth, discovery of this wonderful truth, that man becomes all the truer the more he realizes himself in others. So Tagore is trying to go beyond us and them, the usual division that we have, or the division that the dictators like to promote, right? who, us and them, and they are the enemies, we're the friends, right? And Tagore is trying to push us to question this very division of people. I think there's a huge hint. I haven't had the opportunity to explore the implication of his comment, but I think there's something in here that we have to think, to challenge our own mindset about how we divide people. Okay, summing up, self-reliance is another form of dependency. This is my argument. We need to examine how one form of dependency leads to another and its implications for people's well-being. Second, modern society created a market economy that attempts to combine the strength and advantages of the individual based on social contracts. We need another system to complement our weaknesses or disadvantages based on care and commitment. On daily lives, we care our old parents or we care children without expecting, without expecting returns, right? This is what we do. We have to expand this idea of care, love, commitment beyond our family members. And finally, we need to go beyond the dogma of one-way maximization, finding the middle range, if you recall the figure that I showed in the beginning. Finding the middle requires imagination, and imagination and inspiration are nurtured in communicating with others, right? And to communicate, you need groups, you need people, you need friends, and this is where intermediary organization come in. So final remarks. We cannot solve this is another quote from Einstein. Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. I totally agree. So rather than solving problems, we should focus on the ways to reduce the occurrence of the problems themselves. And this kind of idea brought me to the study of intermediaries. Domination within intermediary organization can be brutal. I didn't talk very much about what about the violence inside each intermediary groups. We have bullying in schools, we have all kinds of harassment in the companies, right? We have that, yeah? But as long as people can choose to shift to another organization, it is better than, I would argue that it is better than state-centric domination in the long run. And this is really my final slide, and I want to end with one of my most favorite quote from Michel Foucault in one of his interviews. He said, "People know what they do, they frequently know why they do what they do, but what they don't know is what they do does." Do you understand? So people know what they do, and they know why they do what they do, but what they don't know is what they do does. So you don't know, so you do an action and then you don't know the implication or the repercussion of your action, right? So just to connect this quote with my talk today, self-reliance based on individualism and international cooperation based on governments are all well intended, right? But what we really have to see is what they do does. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It is intriguing and crucial when you mention about the intermediaries organizations to solve local issues that comes between state and individuals. In Chiang Mai, as mentioned earlier, that this is the best season to visit Chiang Mai, but right after this best season, the worst season is upcoming, PM 2.5. And we've been waiting for any solutions that could solve this problem. And it's now time to take a short break for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And we will come back to this room again. And the next session is a special panel by Japan Foundation Bangkok and Institute of East Asia Studies, Thammasat University. So please come back at 10:50. Please come back to this room and be seated. We are going to get ready for this upcoming session in a couple of minutes. And if you have not finished the refreshments yet, please feel free to bring it inside the room. Everyone, please come back to the room. We are about to begin in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to the second session of the 8th Biennial International Conference of the Japanese Studies Association of Southeast Asia under the theme of the 50th anniversary of Japan-ASEAN relations, Flourishing Friendship. We are here at the Country Hills Hotel, Chiang Mai, Thailand. The program right after this, as mentioned earlier, is a special panel by Japan Foundation Bangkok and Institute of East Asia Studies, Thammasat University. The discussing topic is Japan in Thailand, interactions, Japanization and localization. There will be 4 discussants. The first discussant is Professor Dr. Kitti Prasarsuk from the Faculty of Political Science, Thammasat University, Thailand. The second person is Professor Dr. Fujioka Takamasa. He is the Director of Satsin Japan Center and Professor of Meiji Business School. The third discussant is Ms. Yuparet Ektura Prakan, the Chief Executive Officer, GU Creative Company Limited. The fourth one is Emeritus Professor Dr. Thane Jaruanmuang. He is a professor from the School of Politics and Government, the Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration, Chiang Mai University. And we will have Associate Professor Dr. Sunida Arunpipat as a chair. She's a chair of Japanese Studies Center, IEAS, and a professor from the Faculty of Political Science, Thammasat University, as a moderator for this session. I would like to hand over the microphone to Associate Professor Dr. Sunida Arunpipat, who will guide you through this upcoming session. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Sunida Arunpipat.
สวัสดีเจ้า very Chiang Mai, right? Very northern kinds of nice, beautiful words, right? สวัสดีเจ้า once again. Welcome all once again to the special panel on topic of Japan and Thailand interactions, Japanizations and localizations. But before I start these sessions, may I allow all of us, may you allow me to take a very brief moment, to share our deepest gratitude to organizers and then our partners. May I invite Assistant Professor Dr. Chaiwat Misantan, Director of Institute of East Asian Studies, Thailand University, to deliver his brief opening remarks. Please.
สวัสดีครับ Very good morning. Professor Dr. Thane Charan from the Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration, Chiang Mai University. Professor Dr. Kitti Prasert-Suk, Faculty of Political Science, Thesaurit University. Professor Dr. Takamasa Fujioka, Director of Sasin Japan Center and Professor of Meiji Business School from Meiji University. คุณยุพเรศเอกธุระประกัน Chief Executive Officer GU Creative Company Limited, Associate Professor Dr. Sunida Runpipat from our Institute of East Asian Studies. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Institute of East Asian Studies, Thesaurit University, and also host of this special panel, I would like to welcome all of you to the special panel on Japan in Thailand, interactions, Japanization and localization. Today we have many special guests from the different institute and also the different kind of work together with us on this panel. Actually, when Japan Foundation Bangkok invited us to be a part of this to be a partner in organizing the small panel. Actually, we plan to make a small panel to be a part of this event. But Chiang Mai University give us a good opportunity and move us to be a big panel after the opening ceremony. In finally, thank you, Dr. Narut, for giving us a good opportunity on this. If we talk about Japan in Thailand, it must be said that it is a very important, especially in the historical economic issues. Japan has been playing a very important role in Thai economy for half century already. And now, more than that, the economic dimension that play a role in Thai society is Japan culture. No matter which province in Thailand that we go, we will see one thing show that Thai people really like Japanese culture, and that is Japan food, which is easier to find than some Thai foods nowadays. And when we ask young generation about which destination that they want to visit the most, Japan is always the first answer for here. The Institute of East Asian Studies and Center for Japanese Studies, Institute of East Asian Studies was also supported by the Japanese government 40 years ago to be founded. And I'm very proud to be a part of this event. Again, I would like to say thank you to Japan Foundation Bangkok to give us a good opportunity. Japan Foundation, Japan Faculty of Political Science and Public Administration, Chiang Mai University, and especially Assistant Professor Dr. Narut, again for inviting IEAS to be a co-host of this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much ค่ะ อาจารย์ชัยวัฒน์ค่ะ Japan and Thailand, why we select this topic today? Because we see that when two countries interact in one country, interact in one area, they're normally creating a very surprise and interesting phenomenon. This maybe start from a very simple form. For example, you bring it in. For example, in Thailand, we have Japan towns, and I think that many countries in ASEAN, we also have Japan town or Japanese town or Japanese village as well. In Chiang Mai, maybe you can enjoy onsen at Monjang. So it's simply simply a very simple form, so we bring in the culture in particular countries. More than that, we may adapt a little bit of interesting phenomena, right? Sushi not really served in fancy restaurant, sorry for that, but we serve as a street food here in Thailand, which the price just only 5 baht or 7 baht per sushi. So that's what interesting. Not only adapt a little bit, but we create our own style. It's what so-called I think that Japanese people don't even know. Do we have it in Japan? Yes, you don't really have it in Japan, but Japan, Thailand, we have Tokyo, sweet or kanom. See? Right. Even more creative than that. Recently, I think that the embassies of Japan share these pictures and this news. We have Doraemon Chime in Thailand. How interesting, surprising phenomenon when two countries interact in one area. More than that, we have Doraemon amulet in our own style, right? So this is just a picture that I portray you and to bring you into this panel in order to give you some interpretations, some application, and at the end of the day, inspirations for our panelists. So we will first with the very first one. From the very first one, we have Emeritus Professor Dr. Thane, right? He is Ajahn of Ajahn, or maybe he is Sensei of Sensei, from the Persians, right? From the Persians who specialize in local administrations, local government, right? Lana cultures, right? So for me, he is the living legends, right? In Thai. The second person, we have Professor Dr. Gitti Prasasu. Yes, currently he serves as advisory committee of the Institutes of International Study Centers of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he also serves as editorial board of the Journals of Global Studies Quarterlies as well, and used to be the vice president of Thammasat University for International Affairs, and used to be the strategic committee of Thai Ministry of Defense. So for me and for many students, he is public figures, right, in Thailand. The third person, we have a great honor having Professor Dr. Takamasa Fujioka. Me, he is a rising star. Currently, he is the associate dean of the professional graduate schools from Meiji University, right? And then he also, as the director of Satsin Japan Center, Chulalongkorn University. Concurrently, he also serving as visiting professor of Waseda Business School, and he recently was elected as the 12th, right, president of Japan Academy for Asian Market Economics. Once again, he is the youngest one who served these positions in Japan. And then he also appointed as consular of the Unions of National Economic Associations, one of the most prestigious associations in Japan. So for me and for many, he is the rising star in this field. And then the last one, we have Kun Yuparen Eturapakan. She is the CEO of GU Creative. So if we ask, if among Thai, if you ask me, what is the biggest event promoting Japan, Japanese culture in Thailand? I think that most of the people will recall to the event called Japan Expo, that arranged every single year in Central World, and she is the one who arranged that event, and she with you right now. Every single year, she keeps expanding in terms of size and in terms of collaborations, and this is just a part of her work in promoting Japan. So for me, she's the role model of the young generations to be followed. So we have a wide range of not only the hard power issues, from the hard power issues to the soft power, for very political ones to business economics ones. So you will share with me a very different and wide and diverse views regarding Japan in Thailand. Okay, maybe first start without further ado, maybe first start with Ajahn Gitti. Could you please depict so-called the overall pictures of Japanizations in Thailand and in Asia?
Minasan, ohayo gozaimasu. So very good morning. Now I am overwhelmed not by the flower as Professor Sato, but overwhelmed by the energy of our moderator. She's full of energy. How can I respond? The first round, I think I would spend. We assign each speaker 8 minutes, but the first round I might need 11 minutes. But the second round I would reduce my time to 5 minutes. All right. The topic Japan in Thailand. I would take stock first. What would be the Japan presence in Thailand in the past 50 years, 60 years? In fact, we just celebrated the commemorative relationship between Japan, a dialogue partnership between Japan and ASEAN, starting in 1973. So just last Sunday, we got the big summit in Tokyo. And I think I have seen a lot of, I old enough to see a lot of Japan interaction with Thailand in the past 50 years. So the question I would like to raise here, what has been Japan presence in Thailand? What has been Japan presence in Thailand? And put differently, how has Thailand interacted with Japan? And what does it mean for Thailand and Japan? What does it mean for Japan and Thailand? I just want to navigate or shape some new perspective and new research agenda in Japanese studies, which I would elaborate in the second round of my talk. But first, let's take stock first. What has been the Japan presence? But here we need to understand what does it mean by Japan here? What Japan means? It can be Japanese culture. It can be Japanese businesses. Japanese people, overall Japanese presence and activities in Thailand. And we may call it Japaneseness, like when Ajahn Sunita showed you the Doraemon amulet. We somehow adopted Japaneseness in Thai perspective, in Thai preferences, and etc. So Japan presence, I would say that it started around 1970s together with the summit, the dialogue. It started with pop culture. It may have permitted Thailand earlier than that in 1960, but I was not born yet. And I born in the late 1960s, sorry. But the more pervasive Japanese pop culture that permitted Thai society probably started around 1970s. And become intensified in 1980 when people had more televisions. And during 1980s, ODA, official development assistance, and investment, FDI, foreign direct investment. It started earlier, but I would like to highlight the concentration period that started from 1980s. And from 2000, from this century, I think we have to look at the pattern of consumptions and lifestyles of Thai people that pretty much related to Japan or Japaneseness. Here, it's 1970, I grew up with this kind of movie, Kamen Riders, Ultraman, Tiger Mask, and also Kendo. In Thailand we call it Kendo. So maybe not people know this. Maybe I'm too old to say, but in the rooms, very young. 1980, Doraemon, Ikkyu-san, Dr. Salam Oshin become phenomenon in Thailand, 1980s and 1990, Tamagotchi, Dragon Ball, J-pop. But in fact, for investment, it started early in 1960. Company like Toyota just celebrated the 60th anniversary recently. Nissan also came to Thailand in the automobile assembly. But from 1980 to the present, we have seen a lot of Japanese investment in Thailand dominating all the industrial estate in Thailand. You name it, Toyota, probably the third largest
car assemblers in the world, Thailand. And for consumption and lifestyle in 2000s, I think when Thai people have become richer and they become large mass of middle class people, a lot of consumption. Here is the restaurant at the Impact Challenger in Bangkok. I just visited recently, so I took the picture by myself. You can see it's pretty much look Japanese. The store set model from some place in Osaka. And here J Street Food in Chiang Mai. I just took the picture last night. Street food near the Maya Shopping Center. And J Park here in Srilacha Chonburi province. Why? Because so many Japanese living in Srilacha. Many Japanese salarymen live in Srilacha, working in industrial estate nearby. So they have a theme park and also restaurants on J Park in Sri Lanka. Sorry. And in Bangkok, Nihonmachi in Nong Jong district, Muslim district in fact, in Bangkok, but they have the Nihonmachi, quite big. And you may think that Japanese culture permitted to the upscale level of Thai society, but not true. As Ajahn Surida just mentioned, now Japanese food available for all walk of life in the flea market, in the provinces, not only in the Bangkok, and sushi costs only 5 baht. In Thailand, ramen, we have many kind of Japanese food stall in Thailand. And according to JETRO report, all provinces, 77 provinces in Thailand, all have Japanese restaurant of some sort. And consumption and lifestyle, Thai people love to travel to Japan. And in fact, this year, half year, we ran into deficit, traveler deficit, tourist deficits. We went to Japan almost 500,000 Thai visited Japan this year, half year. But Japanese tourists came to Thailand only 300,000. So we ran deficit almost 200,000 to Japan. And karaoke has become the standard lifestyle. When you want to be successful in your career, you need to sing. You need to sing in Thailand. Otherwise, you will not be promoted. And you need to change the song. You sing the song every 3 months or so. Otherwise, you'll be bullied. And then Uniqlo, character goods, Hello Kitty, everything prevalent in Thai society. And this is a phenomenon, the AKB48 phenomenon that happened in Taipei, in Manila, in Jakarta, and also in Thailand, BNK48. I can't resist, but that we learned from Japan so long, from South, the idol at my teenager, when I was teenager, I loved this group. The model from Japanese trio, Chojo Tai, and then developed to BNK48. So we continually accepted Japanese influence in our society. And here, Japanese soft power influence in Thailand. You take a look at the manga. It's a Thai manga, but definitely look like Japanese manga. And different style, not only one style, at least 3-4 style of Japanese manga here. And cosplay, students love that. Young Thai love that. And not only in Thailand, in other ASEAN countries as well. And Japan has been also embedded in Thai beliefs. As Dr. Surida has shown, the shrine that you need to give tribute of Doraemon doll to play and to make a wish. And then amulet, and then even the medium. Let me show you the medium. That is the medium that to inherit the spirit of Doraemon of some sort and tell you what you should do according to Doraemon that inherited in the body. So what does it mean for Thai society? What does it mean for Japan? So the bottom line here is that we can analyze, we can see socio-economic changes in Thailand with some Japan elements. Socio-economic changes in Thailand always related in some sort with Japanese culture, with Japanese elements. And what does it mean for Thailand and Japan? So I will elaborate in the second round. I hope I didn't use too much time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hajangiti. I think that he is even more in terms of the details, how Japan and Thailand interact with a super clear pictures for all of you, from the very hot, from foods and beverage up until the lifestyle, up until the beliefs in Thailand. So it simply means that Japanese influence embedded in Thai society. And then second round, we'll see his arguments, what's supposed to be the meanings and implications behind those trends. So the very first round of Jangkite depicts or portrays the broad views of what's really happening in Thailand. And then the first round of Ajahn Thanet, so next one will be Professor Dr. Thanet. He will show us about Japan and Chiang Mai in particular. Looking at the micro level, as Chiang Mai as community, what's supposed to be happening when Japan influence in Thailand, when Japan influence in a super rich culture community in Chiang Mai. So please, Ajahn Thanet.
สวัสดีครับ It's my honor to be speaking to all of you here, and I didn't expect the seminar would be this great, and a lot of people are attending. And I thought that Dr. Kitty would spend 11 minutes, but I don't think it's that long. Maybe I enjoy listening to him too much, so it was a very short talk for me. So I think that the two things that I'd like to speak on the first round. Number one is that I think looking back at the situation of Japan and Thailand, first of all, I think we need to look at many aspects of the two countries. Japan stunned the world by defeating Russia a long time ago and colonizing Korea. And I think they also fought against China. So it has been a world leader for a long, long time, while Thailand has been just a regional leader, good at colonizing neighboring countries, nothing else. After that, Japan led in the World War and became a very, very interesting loser. And it reminded me when Dr. Sato said something about to lose is to win. And I think by losing, you have come a long way and now have been becoming a very big winner in world affairs. Japan lost, but then I think the United States taught a lesson to Japan by making Japan a democratic country and a very well-behaved monarchy. And Japan has been a very interestingly industrialized country and playing a wonderful role to Thailand. By that time, Thailand was in probably a big problem of being afraid of the growing threats from China and Indochina. So United States has been a big, big brother for Thailand, and Japan very quietly followed. So in the 1960s, I think people in Chiang Mai remember Ajinomoto and Toray, Teteron, and all these textiles and the cameras and motorcycles, Honda, Yamaha, and all these wonderful things from industry Japan. So people in northern Thailand remember the great work of M. Tanaka, who took many, many good pictures. And those pictures by Tanaka have made our region much more interesting because at that time I remember very well that we were taught in school not to write diaries, but I don't think we have been good students. I have many diary books, and when I go back to my cupboard to look at all my diary books, I wrote the first 2-3 pages and all the rest empty pages. Just wrote 2 or 3 days every year. So we have not had very good memory of what we did in the past. So when Tanaka's pictures were displayed, we've been impressed. Not only Tanaka, there's another a Japanese gentleman named Yaki. Recently displaying his pictures taken in the King Rama V era and now on display. So 2 Japanese men have deeply impressed Northern Thai people 100 years ago with all those wonderful pictures. And after that, with the strong support by the U.S. government, as I said earlier, all these motorcycles and cars and cameras and all these electric fans and Ajinomoto, we have been impressed with the Japanese influence growing in this country, in especially northern region from the 1960s. So it seems like we have been a good, receptive country, receiving aid and many wonderful commodities from Japan, from industrialized countries. I think thank you very much for Jan Sunida to show all those pictures that just appear for us. That I think this is a combination of a country that has not been colonized and has been, how many more minutes? I'm sorry, 2. Okay. We have been receiving all this good culture from Japan and from other industrialized countries. And in response, we have been able to accumulate some money so that a number of visitors from this region are going to Japan in response to see, just want to witness the prosperity of that country and other industrialized countries. What I'm going to tell you in the next round will be exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kazantanet. That was a big round of applause, guys. I think Kazantanet and Kylie remind us that the interactions itself is not just only the policy level, or not only the top executive levels or leader levels, but individual levels as well, and create a very interesting and even more impactful terms of phenomena as well. So, waiting for the second round of Kazantanet to speak more in terms of individual impact. So next, we would like to ask, I personally would like to ask Professor Dr. Fujioka. Once again, we know more, a little bit. So I think that Nakiti touched upon the investment issues a little bit. That since 1960, intensively invest in Thailand and in Southeast Asia as well. I think that Professor Fujioka will elaborate more in terms of business, in terms of investment views and perspective of Japan and Thailand. Please.
Okay, hello everyone. So, firstly, I was very surprised that all the Thai professors and the audience know about the Japanese animation and the Japanese kind of pop cultures much better than me, and he already explained about foreign direct investment and economic activities of Japan in Thailand. So I am actually coming from the business school. So this is my first time to join this kind of the conference. So for me, what I can share with you is more specifically from the perspective of management. So when we say I was given the title called Japanization, right? As you know, I think you know better than me about Japanization. But I try to think about what kind of things we talked about Japanization. So the first things, Ajahn Kitty said it's since 1970, right? But I'm slightly younger than him, so I thought since 1990. So the characters are slightly different from what Ajahn Kitty already shown you. But now you can see when we say Japanization, one of the characteristics is of course like pop culture or animation. Right? And another aspect is when we say Japanization is maybe it's a little bit negative meaning called imperialism, right? And another thing is, when we do business in management, right, we have to understand the cultural difference between Thailand and Japan. So for me, as you know, my presentation is just to make you relax. Because at the business school, I have to attract top executives. So they are very impatient. So if I keep on talking, reading, then no one listens at the business school. Right? So I try to make it fun as much as possible. But to joke aside, right, when we talk about Japanization, right, in the field of economy, right, a lot of people talk about Japanese production system. Actually, the first movement to invest from Japan to Thailand was 1960. But second movement, as Professor Kitty mentioned, is since 1980s, especially a lot of foreign direct investment after Plaza Accord, which was 1985, right, the number of investment to Thailand increased a lot. So when we talk about Japanization in our field, right, a lot of people talk about Toyota production system or Japanese manufacturing system. And the way Japanese transfer knowledge, right, the technological knowledge remain in Japan, but a lot of labor-intensive part, right, shift to Thailand. This is what we call flying goose model. You might have ever heard. And also, right, when we talk about Toyota production system, right, people often talk about people, right? So Japanese manufacturers are very good at producing high-quality product, but the strength is not only in the product, but the way Japanese companies treat people. Right, so the concept for Toyota production system is respect for people for the continuous improvement. So you can see a lot of quote or books, right, related to Toyota production system. So as it stated by Taiichi Ono, right, people don't go to Toyota to work, but they go there to think. So Japanese way of doing business is to give more authority of freedom to even the frontline workers. Right? This is one of the characteristics of Japanese management system. And another characteristic is, right, when we compete in the market, we don't compete individually firm versus firms, but the Japanese companies are trying to form the clusters. Right? For example, automotive industry. Right? In order for us to assemble one single car, we need 4,160 parts. So we need a lot of suppliers. Right? So the automotive makers, right, we have assembly makers is around 15 in Thailand, but first tier suppliers and there are second tier suppliers and also a lot of SMEs. Right? So we do business like all together as a cluster. And also, right, when we say Japanization, in recent years, right, this is not something like we should follow Japanese way, but it's more negative meaning. Don't follow Japanese path in terms of economic stagnation. Right? So there are a lot of meaning of Japanization, right? But for today, right, I'd like to talk more about positive side, right? So I'm gonna talk about the manufacturing in relation to localization. Okay, so one of the example, right, I'd like to just show how Japanese companies localize their operations. This is the one I have helped from the beginning, and I'm sitting on the board of the director of Science Cement Group real estate company. So this is the joint venture of Science Cement Group and Sekisui Chemicals, which is one of the largest chemical companies. So when we talk about the localization, it is not something like Japanese culture or Japanese production system just transferred from Japan to Thailand. But the localization process, right, could be understood, right, from the combination of three different activities. Right? So first one is adaptation. In order for us to do business in different culture, we have to adapt ourselves. And the second part is replacement. Right? We have to replace, right, the weakness of Thailand with the strengths of Japan. And third one is when we do business together, we have to learn each other. This is what we call blending, or complement each other. So this is just an example, like appearance of the house, right? Japanese way and the Thai traditional way. So we combine the appearance, right, like this way. And also some replacement of the way they produce the product, right? We change the conventional Thai way to more modern way. And also localization of the production line. You know, if you go to Salaburi, we established one of the, not one, the largest factory for us to make a house in the world. So you can see very big factory, state-of-art factory over there. And also another interesting part is in Thai house, you don't have entrance. You have entrance, but you don't have a gap, right, between outside and inside. Right? But if you visit Japan, we have so-called genkan, right, the gap. So, but if we put this kind of genkan to make a house, right, it costs more. So sometimes at the first time, Thai partner said, we don't need this. In Thailand, we don't have that kind of culture. Right? So, but we had to make them convinced why genkan is important. And when we talked, like, communicate each other, at that time, the COVID, the pandemic was still not there. So it was very difficult for us to make them convinced. But in the end, if you visit HCG High, now we have genkan. Right? So this is kind of a replacement. Right? And also for the human resource management, right? We collaborated with each other. So we established a lot of programs, right, in Science Cement Group. And also we gave some authority to Thai kind of workers. So by so doing, right, before it took like nearly 600 people to construct one single detached house, but now we could reduce it to 180. This is continuous improvement. And also the marketing, Thai people likes more fun, right, rather than very serious, event. So when we sell a house, we organize an event like this. In Japan, when we sell a house, we don't organize this kind of event. Right? There are 4,000 people gathered together, and we invited a lot of singers. From next time, I have to ask how to organize to make it more interesting. Right? And this is some key success factors when we introduce our housing project into Thailand. So this is offered preference on the other side, and we try to change to fit to the Thai culture. So I'm not going to explain one by one. So this is some of the actual examples of localization of the house. So blue part is some part which we still remain, or we respect the way Thai people live. And red part is something we replace from Japanese Thai style to Japanese style. So in some localization process of SCG High is not something like one single linear way, but we could understand it's a combination of three different steps. So yes, I think it's almost time.
Thank you very much, Ka. Professor Dr. Pujioka, big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Very interesting. One point that I forgot when we start this topic. Never thought about Japanizations from the sense of imperialism before. But he kindly lets us know that they've got that negative sense inside of Japanizations when one particular country trying to influence a culture, ideas and visions in the different countries. But at the same time, he's saying that it's dynamic. It's not just direct influence only, but they adapt. They create what's so-called the combinations between the cultures as well, and it's really truly representing tangible forms, as C.G. Harms as a case that he kindly let us know. From a very tangible forms that we're talking about the policy, investment, the impressive individuals who creating very beautiful phenomena in Thailand. We go to the soft power. Then we have Kun Yuparek to share with us about the soft powers in Japan, soft power in Thailand, and then Thai soft power in Japan. Please come.
Sawadee. Okay, right now it's my turn to make something soft here. Okay, let me start with something that I'm very familiar with. I have been working with Japan for over 20 years, and my first inspiration is because I just love Japan. This is my keyword. Then I want to do anything that related to Japan. But of course we are not want to be like Japanese style, but we just inspired by Japan. This is what I start my business with. When I first started before Japan Expo, which is one of the biggest Japan event in Asia at this moment, I started school, Japanese language school, the small language school, because I think the language is very important between two countries. Without the language, the barrier of the language, it's hard for you to communicate between Thai and Japan. So when I first start, I think why my students want to study Japanese? Lots of people 15, 17, they don't even know why they have to study Japanese. So I create the event that inspire them. Whatever they like, they can just use Japanese, maybe cosplay, music, or whatsoever. That's why more than, I think, 15 years ago, I created Japan Festa in Bangkok and started with 5,000 people. And day by day, turned to 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. And I just think wow, this is unbelievable. I just start something simple from beginning, but it means a lot of Thai people can accept the Japanese culture very easily. That's why when it's come to 10th year of Japan Festa in Bangkok, I create this event, Japan Expo Thailand. And my goal is whoever loves Japan must come to my event. Not only young children or young people anymore. I want family. I want the Japanese who live in Thailand can appreciate their culture. They live in Thailand, it's just like their second home. How can I make the event that Thai and Japan, people can enjoy together? So this Japan Expo, when we just talking about BNK48, I was the first one who bring AKB48 to perform in Thailand. And when they first on our stage, they were surprised that many people can sing. People come from Malaysia, come from Indonesia, from Thailand, Hong Kong, and they can just dance together with the same music. This is something very simple. When you create something that people like, they can enjoy, and then we have collaboration. So I brought around 200 artists coming to Thailand, and I give the opportunity for the Thai idol as well to be able to perform with the Japanese. So this is what you see. We have 100 Thai idols, and also from J-pop, T-pop, on the same event, at the same event. I also have the culture. We bring in a lot of the Japanese food supplier, and also takoyaki, okonomiyaki, ramen, from Japan, and they come to Thailand for the test marketing. Then it's not only B2C, and it can be B2B as well. So many people can, enjoy the food. They can have the response of Thai people, and then they open the branch, many branches in Thailand afterward. So this is what I think you can enjoy. But how can you create the economic, in our country, and bringing that relationship between Thai and Japan. And this is like a food zone, travel zone. TG can sell over 30 million baht at our event for selling the tickets to Japan. So we can, and also we have like a study in Japan fair. Since I told you, like I first start from Japanese language school. So we have more than 20,000 students, graduate since we opened the school, Mainichi Language School. And then we also send the student to study in Japan every year. And we have our own scholarship called Mainichi Japanese Exchange Scholarship between Thai and Japan. And also we have martial art. We have next year, our Japan Expo will be on 2nd to the 4th of February. We're going to bring in over 100 artists coming. We're going to bring exhibitors from Japan. We're going to have fan meeting, bringing Japanese to Thailand, over 1,000 people. So this is a chance for Thai and Japan to create the business and to create a relationship, through our event. And this is, we have the young kids to do cosplay. We're gonna do the biggest cosplay for One Piece cosplay. We're gonna do the breaking the record next year, since we're going to have One Piece cafe at our event. And also this is gonna be next year, 2nd to 4th February. We conquer all area at Cinnamon World. We use outdoor, indoor, from 1st floor to 8th floor, and we have 19 zones. So whoever who loves Japan, they can come to this event, okay? And also we hold the Licensed World Cosplay Summit as well. So every year we have Thai cosplay and sending them to compete with another 30 countries at Nagoya, Japan. So we got the ranking number 3 last year as well. Okay, since I've been working with the Japan event, over 100 events so far, so it's a time for me to promote our country in Japan too. So this year in May, I organized with the Thai Embassy in Japan, Thai Festival Tokyo. So we did Thai Fest at Yoyogi in Tokyo, and we have about 300,000 people attend this year. So this will bring a lot of T-pop. It's a chance for us to promote Thai pop in Japan. We have T-pop, we have Thai culture, we have Thai boxing. We even bring Thai Mutelu, Thai fortune teller at the event. You have the Raimon here, so we have something like maybe elephant, like a fortune teller during that 3 days at Yoyogi. And lots of people queue up for an hour for Thai food. Thai food is very popular right now in Japan, and also we bring over 40 Thai artists, to Thai Festival Tokyo. And lately, I also promote BL, Boys Love. So during COVID-19, we create a lot of fans, for Thai's Y series. So last month, I just back from Japan, we did the fan meeting for our Thai BL in Osaka, 2 rounds, and 1 round is about 1,000 people attend. And also we did it in Yokohama as well last week. Also this is photos. We also collaborate with the illustrator between Thai and Japan, and bringing, we have inspiration from the Japanese illustrator anime. So right now Thai character can also, promote at the Mori Museum in Japan. So this is something that I think how can we get the strong impact from Japan, and we get the inspiration from Japan and develop ourselves, our own flavor, whatever we like, how can we make it happen? And also we can make the business in Japan as well. This is the business matching that I did it for the ITP, for matching Thai series in Japan. We just finished TIFCOM to sell our contents, Thai series on air in Japan as well. So this is I just want to share to you all that for me, I would like to share my experience that whatever you like and how can you make it happen, and make the collaboration between these 2 countries. So from now, I think it's a chance for us. It's a right time to promote both Thai and Japan content together. So for the next round, I will share the future that I think is a trend that we have to adapt our Thai from now to get into Japan as well. Yes.
Thank you very much, Kuniparayan. Big applause, please. Thank you very much. You can see, I think the one point that she raised, why we easily consume Japan culture in Thailand. That's really interesting. And in terms of the dynamics as well, we're seeing that increasing person easily consume Japan culture in Thailand. So what I would like to know more from your second round. Thank you very much. As you can see, during first round, all the panelists trying to portray the phenomenon in Thailand in different points of view, from investment, from policies, from hard power to the soft power, from the very big event to the individual. So the second round, we will try to clarify what's happening and then why it is happening in that way, implications behind those phenomena. So maybe I first start with Professor Dr. Thanet. Second round, looking forward to that interesting argument as why that's happening in Chiang Mai. Very interesting. Thank you.
I have 3 points to make for this last round. Number one, I think the 3 factors that have dominated our world, globalization, in terms of this seminar, globalization, Japanization, localization. I think we have gone through the process of interacting with each other. As more and more Japanese came to this country, and hopefully, or probably true, that more and more Thai people would like not to be impacted alone. So more people in this country have tried to save their money by going to Japan to visit, as Kun Yuparet said. I like to tell you my personal story, just 1 second. I began a campaign for governor's direct election by people in 1981. And at that time, most of my friends at university disagree with me, saying that Thai people are not ready. But because I have so many relatives in this region, so they have heard what I said all along, and I have never stopped campaigning for this issue. In the past 3-4 years, I can't believe that all my relatives have gone to visit Japan, and not only they have visited once, they have gone to many towns, and I kept asking them why they went to that country so many times. They said that because each town is different, and they're all very pretty, good parks, excellent transportation system, good food, and beautiful nature. And then they finally came to talk to me that they realized the importance of local self-government, that the governors is elected by people in every prefecture in Japan. And then they came to agree with me that, hey, this guy has been saying this for 30 years, and now they have agreed. They have realized that why Japan is such a fantastic country, and each town they went, they're all different because different local governments competing each other and fight to improve their own places so that at least tourism can be promoted and economically beneficial to their local areas, you know. So the globalization, the localization, or whatever you call it, Japanization, have finally made a big impact for all these people who have gone to visit one country and coming back. And I don't want to say very much about the impact that we have seen, that the result of the May election several months ago, how popular one party has been to this country. So this is my first point, that I think the interaction between these two countries has done so much for the process of education, especially for those people who have been around me, and a lot that and for me that I have been working for these past 30 years. My second point is that as globalization grows and socialist countries have turned capitalistic, I think there are many more rivals or competitors in this region. Chiang Mai and northern Thailand have not only attracted Japan as in the past. We have had a big giant from the north coming, invading this city and probably the whole country of Thailand. Much more that probably Japanese people are surprised to that the invasion from the north is this great in the past few years. So we have seen more Korean, we've seen more Chinese, and as the world is becoming more and more entrepreneurial, economic development has been a very important issue for the world to survive and to prosper. So I have to be honest to you, that Japan has many more competitors in these past few years, and so it's time for Japan to think about this. For the third point, my last point, we learn from each other, and the problem is how to improve the process that Japan has been going through after World War II, becoming democratized, becoming strong in local government and self-rule, whatever, as Professor Sato has said, which really impressed me. And I think that we have to learn from each other. And think about it from my last point. Japan is an island country, so I think the physical distance, probably because we have been so close in the past, so maybe think more about getting together closely in times of more rivals in this growing globalization. So we need to improve the education system, we need to improve democratization and localization, local democracy, so that we can have a much better cooperation by making better issues on cooperation and improving the two countries' relationships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think a very good point. I mean, many things in today's era basically facilitate what we've learned, what we're able to learn from the different countries, no matter what is good or bad, but basically learns and then cooperates and then create better things in our countries. Thank you very much. From the individual points of view, from the very local points of view of how it's happening, and these phenomena in Thailand. So then we shift to a little bit of business and investor perceptions from Dr. Fujioka. I think that many things that you said before, that dynamics happens. You adapt Japanese perceptions, Japanese way of working, so much different. And then what's supposed to be in the futures and what's supposed to be the implications behind those adaptations, whether the experience in Thailand and other ASEAN countries rather the same or not.
So for the second round, I'd like to focus more on the co-creation of value between Thailand and Japan and Mekong, meaning the Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam plus Thailand, through the manufacturing strategy called Thailand plus one. Have you ever heard that a strategy called Thailand Plus One? No. Because actually that's the term which I have developed with a lot of academics. But actually in practice, everyone knows if you are working in the manufacturing sector. So I'd like to briefly touch about Thailand Plus One strategy as well. But at the macro level, as we have already discussed, right, we have to help each other because Thailand and Japan are not that much large countries, and also for Japanese, right, we used to be big in terms of economic presence, but if you look at GDP per capita, right, we are not as strong as before. So we need to help each other, right? So we have to collaborate at the regional level. So this kind of things has been, we have been talking with Thai government and Japanese government. And if you might have heard, we established the kind of agreement called Otagai project. And in Thai cabinet, you also use the term Japanese, right, in 2011. And one of the characteristics of Thailand Plus One, right, is quite similar the term called China Plus One. So China Plus One is, as you can imagine, the China risks for Japanese firms are getting increased. Right? And this is not happening just recently. Since I have joined this project, like 20 years ago, we have been thinking about how we can weaken our dependency of China. Of course, China is also a very important partner, but if we heavily rely on, it could be risky. So a lot of Japanese firms are trying to risk averse, right? Meaning that in order for them to invest more in China, rather they prefer to go to Vietnam, right? So meaning that investment is shifting from China to Vietnam or Thailand. This is the characteristics of China Plus One, which is more like zero-sum game. But for Thai Plus One strategy, is not something like we go out totally our production system from Thailand to Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, but rather only labor-intensive part, like some part of production block, right, which is more labor-intensive part. We just fragment production to Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, right, and we establish a lot of special economic zone across the border of Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, right, and over there Vietnam. Right? So we try to complement each other, right, of the production which we have already developed, right, as automotive industrial clusters, right, by fragmenting some of our production system to neighboring countries. So we are trying to expand a pie, and after expanding a pie, we're gonna compete. Right? This is the concept of Thailand Plus One strategy. And as you see, a lot of companies like Toyota, Denso, Nikon, right, they have already implemented Thailand Plus One strategies, and we have organized this kind of seminar with top executives. And now, I think all large firms, manufacturing firms apply Thailand Plus One strategy. And this is some example of Thai-Japanese collaboration at large. Right? So Thailand is going to force Age Society program, which Japanese has been suffering. We are at Super Age Society. Right? So we have a lot of issues in Japan. In this sense, right, technological sense, right, especially for digitalization, we are much behind the other advanced nations. But we are still advanced in terms of issues, right? We are issue advanced nations. So meaning that, right, if we cope with those issues in Japan, in the near future, after the decades time, right, we can apply those kind of solutions to Thailand and China. Right, so this is how we are trying to collaborate each other. So but before, right, we are helping Thailand to develop, but now Thailand has developed. Now we are shifting from middle income to advanced nations, shifting from efficiency-driven economy to innovation-driven economies. So that we, there are some rules for us to collaborate, and we also need to bring up, right, our neighboring nations, right, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, in collaboration with Japan. Right, this is what we call strategic partnership or mutual relationship-based partnership. So in this region, right, we have been trying to collaborate with each other. Since 1992, Asian Development Bank initiated the concept called Greater Mekong Sub-region, right, which is we are trying to shift from battlefield to the market. And then 2015, right, we had AEC. Right, that one is more like enhancing institutional level of connectivities. And now this is the last stage, people-to-people connectivities. So farms and farms connectivities. This is what we need to collaborate. So in Gen, right, the whole business are through the networks. So this is what we have been doing over the past 15 years in Bangkok. Right? So we have negotiated each other, Tansan, Ichitan. Right? So we came many times before Tansan developed the area in the Niman Hemin Road. Right? And we helped each other. So in order for us to collaborate, first we need to identify the issues in Thailand. I'm not going to explain one by one. So how through the collaboration we can overcome those issues through the business. So this is a project which we have been doing. So the yellow part is key issues which you have been facing in Thailand, and solutions which Japanese firms have. So one of the examples is Sekisui, IHI, Ajinomoto. Right? More recently, we have established the education institute called Kosen. So the point of this collaboration is, right, if we let the government to do, right, it is not that easy for us to be successful. So this is what we call top-down approach, because there is always missing link in the middle. But if we let the firms to organize this kind of collaboration, right, there is also missing link, right, in the middle. So what we have been trying to do is so-called cluster linkage approach, meaning that we establish platform in the middle in order for us to overcome the missing link. So this is the steps. I'm not going to explain one by one, but what we have been doing is quite similar with what she has been doing. So our knowledge has to be implemented into action. So what I have been trying to do is to transfer my knowledge or our knowledge, right, to make it more impactful, right, through actionable knowledge. So this is what we have been done. So we formed cluster in Thai side, and we also formed the cluster in Japanese side, because if we try to help one by one, there are too many. Right? So we asked each region, Japanese region, prefecture, right, our regional banks to form the clusters. And then we also formed the clusters in Thai side, our Mekong regions. And then we matched both sides at once. So, and recently, what we have been doing is, this is just a few days ago in Bangkok, in collaboration with Jinto. So we are trying to enhance inbound and expand, inbound and outbound, right, from both sides. So we established not something like just tourism, but we want to add some more value added, right, for Thai tourists to come to Japan. So this is what we call incentive tour. So not only for them to travel Japan, but also we introduce some of the factories or some of the companies who has advanced technologies, so that maybe 1 or 2 days they have a chance to get to mingle together, or they come to visit our university or universities for them to learn each other. Okay, so now this is my last slide. So when we collaborate each other, the important thing is we have to put people and the well-being at the center of the development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Pachioka. I mean, I kind of like his content. Basically, it's quite linked to Dr. Jin Sato, Professor Jin Sato mentions in the mornings. I mean, I try to link this content together. He's not even used the word dominations, but he kind of used the word collaborations, right? And then thinking Thailand as a springboard, Thailand plus one place. So basically, we as a springboard to other neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. I mean, shifting the ways that we perceive dependency theory or dependence as what Dr. Jin Sado mentions, what so-called reciprocity, right? Reciprocate of this kind of collaborations, which is really interesting. Thank you very much, for your for the sharing idea. And the next, we go Kun Yuparel. Terms of soft power. I think that you have an experience as well, in Malaysia and in different countries as well. What makes us consume Japanese culture and traditions more easily than the others? And what's supposed to be the futures of Japan and Thailand, please?
Yeah, for me, so far we have been doing a lot of events on ground, but since after COVID-19, I myself have to also have to start rethinking how can we work from now, because we never know what happened in the future. We may think that we already finished COVID-19, but we never know. So since after COVID-19, we have been develop some kind of the new event, which is more into online and onto how can we also gain a lot of customers or maybe people who love Japan through digital things. Okay, this is part of example. We also collaborate with some virtual tuber. We all know about YouTuber, but virtual tuber can also be the next step as well. That this is virtual tuber that they create inspired by Japanese manga or because of they love the Japanese character. So these belong to Thai company that develop the virtual tuber and singing the music. And some music they collaborate with Japan. So we have the Thai-Japan music through the virtual tuber. And we also can get the customer from Japan or around the world online. This is we do online, okay? We also have meet and greet online with the virtual things. No real artist. You don't need to pay for the ticket to fly over, but you can talk to your favorite character through the computer and also the virtual things, So this is something that is a trend from now. And after I did the BL fan meeting in Japan, we even think about to create the BL online, this kind of VTuber things. So this is something that I think from now is a trend that we should also consider how to collaborate in terms of technology, and also Japan has a very good technology on this and virtual things. So this is what we are doing at this moment. And also this is the VTuber event that just finished last week. They just come for anime singer. Just watch this on big screen, 1,000 people coming and pay the tickets just to see this. And the owner said because he loved Japan, and this is what he developed, what he liked into business, okay? And besides the entertainment things, I also try to develop something that help the society. So I got the license from Japan called Sport Gomi. Sport is a sport, Gomi is a trash. This is a collecting trash event, which we're trying to make it worldwide. It's a World Cup. This is a World Cup for sport event. Around 30 countries join this event, and I organized in Thailand. So we have about 500 people to compete together to collect trash in Bangkok. And unbelievable, within only 10 minutes, everybody come back with a full trash in hands, okay? So we have trash for different kind. In Japan, they teach their kids since they were young, to learn how to separate trash, but for Thailand, we mix everything together. So at least if this can inspire you to learn from your own responsibility, from your own house, we just do hope this event can also help our society as well. And the winner just back from Japan, we took them to compete with 20 countries in Shibuya last month. Okay, and Thailand got ranking number 11. Okay, and this is in Japan in Shibuya that we just brought the winners there. Okay, besides the sustainability event, we also thinking like it's from now. Thai people also should focus on IP and licensing. We have a lot of people, creators. We have character. Thai people very good at art, but they don't know how they can, protect their own right. So I try to focus IP and licensing. And right now, Chiang Mai, or maybe Samut Songkram, all over the countries, they try to use the Japan concept by using like the character, and to promote their merchandising and to promote their province, this is from like Yurukara from Japan event. And at the same time, in Panga, they're also trying to develop the same character event to gathering all the Thai character and to promote their product, agriculture product, through the character. So this is something that we were trying to help Thai people to aware of their own right from now, okay? And this is a mascot that the first time in Thailand, guarding all the Thai mascot to promote the province. Okay, and as you know that right now, government trying to focus 11 industry for the soft power, and I would be happy to be part of this since I have been working with the soft power activity for over 20 years. But how can we make it's not only Thai and Japan. I think it's time for ASEAN country. We can collaborate together. Just like me, I expand Japan Expo Malaysia, and I also bring Doraemon and also bring Pokemon to on air in Myanmar. So I think we are all friends. But how can we bring something that we like and we can help society, and also we can extend our relationship not only 130 years Thai-Japan, but it's gonna be 200 and forever. So with our power, I think we can make Thai and Japan the longer relationship together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pico. So it seems that our ASEAN member countries also easily consume Japanese cultures as well. So it's not coercion, it's not forced in the ways that we're trying to push Japanese culture in those countries. But they also, welcome Japanese cultures in the same ways that we welcome Japanese cultures. Thank you very much. So the last one, Professor Kitty, once again, what do you see in the future, this trend, this influence, and then how are we able to inspire the young researcher, the researchers not only in Thailand but in ASEAN country regarding these issues, please?
Okay, so I will be brief because now time is running up. So please go to my PowerPoint, please. What I'm trying to do here, as I said earlier, trying to navigate the new research agenda in Japanese study for not only for Thailand but for ASEAN as well. I just use Thailand as a case study. So you have heard a lot of exciting accounts from businesses, from the soft power industry, from local Chiang Mai, for example. So here, I think the question is, can we navigate and shape perspective and new research agenda? How can we understand socio-economic changes in Japan and Thailand through Japanese presence and activities in Thailand and also in other ASEAN countries? The elements embedded in our society from Japan, Japanization, localization, may be able to tell us more about our understanding about Japan, our understanding about our country itself. So here's some research agenda. Why does the recent Japanese investment tell us? Or what does the recent Japanese investment tell us about changes and continuity in Japan? I think Japan has changed its corporate strategy. So we can learn not only from doing research in Japan, but we can learn by doing research in Thailand or in other ASEAN countries. So I think that's why we do not need to, we need to be flown in Japan to do the research. Maybe not necessary. But having said that, it doesn't mean that we don't want scholarship from Japan Foundation and others. We would love to have that to verify our account going to Japan. But maybe not that long. That cannot be too long. I mean, we do the research basically in ASEAN countries on Japan and on our countries. And how can we understand socio-economic changes in Japan through Japanese young and old people living in Thailand. The new pattern of Japanese migrant to Thailand, not only salaryman, not only businessman, but people who do something else. Some YouTubers, some just come to Thailand for pleasant living, for example. What does it mean? And what are Japanese elements embedded in Thai everyday life? Plenty. And what do they signify for Thai society? And the bottom line here, I think we have to ask ourselves, can we go deeper than just knowing, analyzing the phenomenon, but the meaning behind it. So I think nowadays in Thailand we have as many as 80,000 Japanese living in Thailand. 80,000. So I think we have plenty of materials, more and more businesses, in Thailand. We have many material to analyze Japan in Thailand. We see many Japan elements, Japan affair in Thailand. And that may help us to understand a big picture of Japan. And before this, Japan present used to be much smaller in the 1970s, but over time, Japanese present come to be much bigger and bigger, not only in Thailand, and in other ASEAN countries. We should have plenty of materials to analyze, to explore for our new research agenda. And I hope our colleagues from ASEAN here and also from South Asia can introduce this kind of research agenda to your students. Yourself may develop some new research topic based in your countries. So far, we tend to do research on Japan, like Japan-Thailand relations, Japan-Malaysia relations. But I think we need to go beyond the boundary of national border. We can look into our domestic affairs by using Japan elements in our country and try to understand ourselves better, and we try to understand Japan better as well. And in terms of next slide, please. The bottom line here again is that to develop Japanese studies outside Japan. I think we should be able to develop Japanese study outside Japan, and we should develop toward a new frontier of Japanese studies. And we can also compare acceptance and receptivity of Japan among ASEAN countries. Maybe our receptivity of Japaneseness may be not the same. And so that's why we can do Japanese study in Thailand and comparative study with other ASEAN countries as well. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ajahn Gitti. I think that these sessions may inspire you, and then confirms and then emphasize what Ajahn Gitti just mentioned, that Japan study is able to happen outside Japan as well. I think that we're able to facilitate one or maybe two questions from the floor. Yes, if you have, I collect all at once, just one or two questions. All right. If you have questions, so please raise your hand. So if yes, please. Okay.
Yes, just begin to me, not just to waste your time. Yeah, I have so many questions. And thank you all of the panelists. You are delivering very good information and insights. I have a questions regarding the Japanese industry, like the manufacturing. Like because you mentioned about the localization of the Japanese manufacturing, right? But right now in this century, we have faced disruptions a lot, which Japanese industry itself may not be well catch up, right? So what do you think these kind of things would affect the character of Japanese penetration of its own business model? For example, EV. Toyota is still working on, HEV means hydrogen EV, but the world we are looking for the world is doing the battery EV, for example. This kind of things came to my mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I can facilitate one more question if you have from the floor, and if you have, so please raise your hands, then the microphone will bring to you. Is there any further questions so far? Raise your hands. Okay. If not, so please come.
So thank you very much for your question, and I think your point is right. So Japanese competitiveness of Japanese industry, right, is getting weaker and weaker. So I'm very happy to come to this kind of regional studies conference because you are still using Japanization or how you want to learn from Japan. But at the business school, people stop talking about this. We are the one who need to catch up with the new trend of digitalization and EV. But having said so, Japanese strengths in the manufacturing sectors, right, is not totally gone by shifting from a traditional way of production system to digital way or EV. Because even virtual world or digitalization moved forward, but still someone need to work, right, to produce something. Right, so for Japanese perspective, of course, we have been aware of the problem of EV, right, for automotive industries. But at the same time, we would like to keep with our business architecture, so-called integral architecture, business architecture, meaning that for assembling the car, right, we have to physically close each other. And for suppliers need to work, very closely each other. So this kind of production or manufacturing phase, right, that kind of things we are very good at in Japan. Right? However, the modular types of the production, which is more like Lego block, so interface is standardized. So which means we can just order our parts, right, which from the cheapest place. Right? This is what we call global supplies. Right? So that kind of competition, like if the production, everything is shifting from integral type to modular type, right? In the end, it's not only Japan. In the end, all companies will face the cost competition in the end, right? Sooner or later. So we have to adapt that direction at the same time. But at the same time, we have to remain our strengths as a manufacturers, because that part is very difficult for the other party to imitate. Right? So we have to keep our sustainable competitive advantage out of our hand, but at the same time we have to learn, right, from something new. Thank you very much. This kind of things we have been talking at Chamber of Commerce for 20 years, right? But we are a little bit slow.
Slow but firm, right? In that sense. Thank you very much once again. I think that we can see the results of interactions in a very tangible forms, not only in terms of hard power, soft power, policy to the individual ones. We can see those tangible forms, but not forget that we also have the intangible forms of the interactions as well. No matter what in terms of sentiment, no matter what in terms of friendships, no matter what in terms of feelings that we would like to connect with this country is behind these interactions as well. And I think that intangible form able to push forth these collaborations in very surprising phenomena in the future. And I think that this event is one of the very obvious evidence to show the intangible forms of collaborations between Thailand, ASEAN countries, and Japan. So please join me to give a big round of applause to the organizer, faculties of Political Science and Public Administration, in particular, Ajahn Pai Lin and Ajahn Avut. Thank you very much for your kind support. Join me as well to thank you, Japan Federation's headquarters, Japan Federation's Bangkok, to stay tuned with me, be patient with me through all the times. Thank you very much. So big round of applause to Japan Federations. Thank you very much. Thapprasat University. And then last but not least, we have all 4 panelists today. Big round of applause to Professor Tanet, Professor Dr. Hitti, Professor Su, Professor Dr. Takamasa Fujioka, and then Kun Yupare. Thank you very much. So enjoy Chiang Mai. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The soft power of Japanese culture is so powerful in the world. This year, due to the world's rank, it is ranked number 4. Number 1 is the US, followed by the UK, Germany, Japan, and China. A very good example of Japanization and localization is my outfit today. It was inspired by the wife of the Japanese ambassador who came to Thailand during the reign of King Rama V, and the hairstyle is called Ippen. In Thai, it is Chak Neep. And the bottom part of my skirt is in the Thai Lana style. It is handmade. If you're interested, you could come see when I'm finishing emceeing today. And it's now the time to have lunch. And we have come to the end of the morning session. The afternoon session will be separated into each panel. There will be 6 separated rooms. Everyone can take a look up for your session on the leaflet provided in your bag. Also, you may check your name and your room on the website, JSA ASEAN. And for the ticket for having lunch, it is your lanyard and name tag. And the lunch will be served on the first floor. This is the second floor. This room is called Doi Luang, which is a place for dinner time, but not lunchtime. Lunchtime going to the first floor. And we have international food and Thai food plus halal food for those who are pre-registered and requested for 25 sets only. If you need any assistance, please feel free to ask our staff and volunteers. We have some students who are Muslim. Should you have any questions, feel free to reach for them. And we have ended our morning session. I'd like to thank everyone for your attention and cooperation. Please reconvene at 1 p.m. sharp. For presenters who present in the first panel, please come prepared at 12:50. Enjoy the meal, and then I'll come see you again during the dinner reception. Thank you, and ขอบคุณค่ะ arigatou gozaimasu.